Last time in Goss's Garage, we talked about tire rotation and how rotation can keep the wear on the tire even and so on. Actually may do away with front end alignments and a whole bunch of things because tire is never going to be in the same spot on the car long enough for it to take on a wear pattern. And when you get them rotating in the opposite direction, instead of getting all cupped and so on, that cupping will even out and you'll have much better tire wear. Actually, in many cases, the tire wear will be doubled or tripled as far as the life of the tires are concerned. Now, we talked about the modified X. Modified X, where with a front-wheel drive car, what we do is we take the right rear to the left front, the left rear to the right front, and then the front tires go on the back, but they stay on the same side of the car. That's a modified X. And if you had rear-wheel drive, it would be just the opposite. If you have all-wheel or four-wheel drive, whatever the vehicle would be without all-wheel or four-wheel drive, you use that pattern. In other words, if you have a car that has all-wheel drive, but without all-wheel drive, it's front wheel, use the front-wheel drive pattern, and so on. Now, that applies to conventional tires, such as we see here. This is a typical conventional tire. Tread is symmetrical and so on, all the way across, and there are no limitations to rotating the tires. But, and some of you brought this up, we have these ugly critters right here. This is a directional tire. Now, by directional, you can see by the tread that it always has to turn in one direction. So on this, you can't do any kind of an X or modified X or anything of the kind. The only way you could conceivably do that would be to take the tire off of the wheel, turn it around, mount it so it turns for the other side of the car, and you know, just rebalance it and all of that. Too much money. Well, fact of the matter is that these are becoming less and less popular. We probably, maybe one pair of these a month that we install out of the hundreds of tires that we do every month. So thankfully, these are going away. Now, why do I say thankfully? Well, because you can't rotate them and make them turn in the other direction. These tires, historically, were really prone to, around the edges, these blocks of rubber getting all cupped, and these tires would get horribly noisy. Now, still, this may be one of the better tires if you're going to go to the track or something like that, but if you're not going to the track, what you might want to consider is a tire like this one. Now, this is something that is replacing the directional tire. This is an asymmetrical, non-directional tire. Now, by asymmetrical, if you look at this, there are going to be some differences in the tread across the tire. We can see here that this side of this center section is straight. The other side has these notches in it, and there's a difference in the cuts in here and so on. Now, the thing with this is that when you mount it onto the wheel, there is an inside and an outside, but it doesn't make any difference which way it turns as long as it's mounted on the wheel properly. So that the outside is to the outside of the wheel and the inside is to the inside of the wheel. If you have these asymmetrical, which these have different tread compounds and so on, through modern technology, they can make parts of it softer and grippier so that it works better on going around corners and better traction and so on. They can change the configuration of these grooves and so on in the tire so that it winds up dispersing water better and all kinds of things like that. Well, these tires, you buy a set of these, you do away with all of the negatives of the directional tire, but you gain most of the characteristics of the directional tire except for track purposes. And you can rotate them. So asymmetrical, non-directional, highly recommended. If you have directional tires on your car and don't go to the track, when it comes time to replace them, you might want to look towards something like this. You can rotate it, they wear evenly, they remain quiet, and they do a good job. So those are the final things as far as rotating tires. And if you have a question, a comment, or just want a lot of great information, check us out at goss-garage.com.